Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Gez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Gez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspirational messages and interviews including motivational insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action without the hype in unleashing your greatness in life and in business. We appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us, and we have a very special guest, and I'm super grateful to have her on our show. Her name is Nicole. She helps new, aspiring, and seasoned online coaches using social media effectively to build an authentic online presence, create high-converting content pieces, and sell high-ticket packages with ease. So guys, I'm super excited to have Nicole on the show. So Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. And by the way, guys, Nicole and I, we've connected through a business event, and let me tell you, she is a trailblazer. I can say that again. She's a trailblazer, and she's amazing. And Nicole, to those who don't know you yet, please tell us about yourself and what you do.
So I am a business coach, and I've only really been coaching for about a year and a half. But in the past year and a half, so much has shifted for me. I started out doing social media managing. Actually, prior to that, I was a college student juggling multiple jobs and trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. And then I decided I wanted to do some sort of entrepreneurial work in the online space. So I did social media management. And then not long after, I stumbled across the world of coaching and worked through all the imposter syndrome, all the fears around who am I to call myself a coach? I have no certifications, to just going all in, hiring a coach to work with me. And now here we are a year and a half later, and I'm running my own coaching business. I'm helping other coaches, and it's lots of fun.
Love that. I love how you say it's lots of fun. And, it's not easy to go all in and to, go through the fear and come out with courage and victory. Now, it's been a journey for you. How did you find your calling in business?
I guess as a person, I've always been quite leader-like, and I found that, even in prior to business and starting my own business, I was always involved in some sort of serving work, like in church life or in ministry or even in school. Back in high school, I was just constantly doing things to help other people. So I found it quite natural to want to serve people, but I never really saw what kind of business I could ever build. Hence why I kind of just dabbled in studying this, studying that, but never actually really feeling fully satisfied. So I guess when I became a social media manager, I obviously was working with small businesses, helping them to get exposed online through socials. And I just remember thinking to myself, surely there's a way to help people and to guide people through doing this themselves rather than doing it for them. And I've always been quite the kind of the cheerleader for people, very empowering, very faith-filled. So for me, when I stumbled across the world of coaching, it was like, oh my goodness, this is it. This is the kind of work where what you do is you believe in people, and then you help them to do it, and then you empower them to do it themselves. And that's kind of how I realized this is the kind of work I wanted to be in. To me, it was service. To me, it was basically leading in the workforce in a very tangible, direct way. So I guess that's how I realized that this is the work that I wanted to do. But a lot of what I aspire to be is just that. Whatever my business may look like or whatever it might evolve to become, I'm not fussed. I think coaching is just the vessel through which I have landed right now, and I'm very open to what my business will become and what it, the people it will reach and how it will reach them.
There's a lot of people who have experienced, self-doubts, and they say, I don't have enough, qualifications or certifications. And sometimes people tend to put themselves, you know, at bay. And so they're really just stuck at procrastination. How did you overcome that to say, you know what, despite of all these limitations I might have, I'm still going to go for it? How did you overcome that to go all in? Because there are a lot of people right now that's listening on this podcast show are kind of experiencing this right now. They want to push forward. They want to do something, what they want to do in life, but they're still held back because they don't feel they're not good enough, or they don't feel they got enough qualification to even get started. What would be your advice, and how did you overcome those type of mindsets?
I think there was a lot of work put into my self-belief at first. And a lot of the time, for many people, even my clients, that's where the work has to begin. Because yes, you can have all the motivational speeches playing in your ear, all the podcasts, all the resources, but even with all the resources in the world, people still don't take action. And for me, I think I was such a dreamer that I sat so long on this idea of, I want to run my own business, but I just don't know what, I don't know how. And I kind of played those excuses in my mind for a long time, but it wasn't until I think the pandemic hit and I was just going on my daily walks, and the thought hit me that, if other people my age are doing amazing things, they're building successful businesses, they're using social media, then who am I to say that I can't be in the same place? And it was just like a really humbling moment to realize as well that they have the exact same resources that I do. And there's really nothing limiting me aside from the thoughts that I'm telling myself. And so from there began a lot of the work on my self-belief and my mindset. And if anything, one of the most powerful quotes for me early on, I think in my first 6 months when nothing was happening, when I was trying and trying, but feeling constantly discouraged, it was this thought that everything I do today will amount to something tomorrow, even if I don't see the direct impact or the direct consequence. If I just wake up today and do something, then I cast a vote for the person I want to become or for the life I want to live, rather than casting a vote for the life that I don't want to live.
Wow, that's powerful. Now, your core values and your specific area expertise, why do coaches or entrepreneurs or even business owners need to build an authentic online presence?
I guess when it comes to building an authentic online presence, it brings us back to the reality of our world. We live in a world where everyone is online, and a lot of the connections that we build happen online. And I think in a world that is highly digitalized, we need to learn how to be ourselves. And in business, being able to be that confidently and have that be what sells your service and have that be what makes you unique is actually going to almost take out the competition altogether. Because at that point, when you're fully authentic, or when you're really fully aligned with who you are and what you're here for, what your mission is in your business, then you don't really need to worry about anyone else looking like you, sounding like you, even if they're the same kind of coach, even if their niche is the same. It honestly won't faze you, because you'll just be so aligned with your purpose and how you say things and how you do things that it completely eliminates the idea of a competition to begin with. And I think that's what we need in our day and age, where we need business owners, we need coaches to rise up to the idea that there is no other coach like them, because that's how we help people in the world. That's how we actually create transformations, when we realize that what I've been through, what I know, what I have learned in my lifetime is unique to the other coach. And therefore, the transformations I can provide is unique. And therefore, the people I can reach is ultimately unique as well. And I stand by that so firmly. It's 100% what I teach and what I practice as well, even in my content. just because there's no other way to do it. When you do it any other way, when you try to copy someone else's voice, or when you're not feeling fully confident, you kind of end up getting lost anyway, and you fall back to this place of, I've built a business that I don't love, or, I've got the money, or I have the clients, but I don't feel aligned. Something needs to change. And you just keep searching.
I like that. Just gotta keep on searching and find that alignment, because a lot of people tend to feel scared of being authentic because they might get judged, or they may feel they're not really that great enough, so they try to copy rather than model, right? So as technology continues to evolve and constantly change, what are the things that you've seen in the latest trends towards social media, and what are people doing right now that are building engagement and boosting their credibility?
I love this question because I've been doing a lot of studying on this recently,
Nice. Yes.
with the boom of social media apps during lockdowns, and all sorts of things happening in the world. It's funny because the way we consume media these days has just rapidly evolved. Say TikTok, excuse me, TikTok, for example, we only just recently saw it rise in the last few years, and more intensely the last few months. And a lot of it is really because it's such a raw, dynamic app, and the media through which it presents content is basically in its most raw and simplified form. It's short form. It's anybody can create whatever they want. You can go viral in a second, overnight. So it's like the most kind of even playing field with the most kind of resources. And knowing now that people are really drawn to short form content because our attention spans are short, and at the same time, it's like we only really ever want to watch something short because we live in that day and age where our attention is already so tiny. I think when we can kind of jump onto a platform that's dynamic like that, and even if it's not TikTok, let's say it's Instagram, like if we can sort of jump on the trend or the practice of being raw, being vulnerable, just getting your voice out there and not having to be so perfect and curated, we'll find that our content will actually perform better, because that's what people want. Like, gone are the days of pretty Instagram feeds and having to spend hours and hours with a lighting studio and a perfect camera, because that's why TikTok is so popular, or that's why reels are so popular and video content, because it eliminates the flashy prettiness that people think is desirable. People would rather you talk to them while you're sitting there eating breakfast, or taking off your makeup and telling them what's real and raw. They're more drawn to that, and that's far more powerful and engaging these days.
So how do you find with your clients to get over that hump of not being confident? Because whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, whether it's even TikTok, and to build your credibility and your engagement is to really get out there, right? Sometimes they may not have that personality type, but they're really great operators. They're really good at business, but when it comes to engagement, that may be a stretch for them. What would be your tips for them to actually become more confident in camera, particularly with TikTok? Because, like you said, people want raw, they want authenticity, they want the real stuff, right? They don't want the perfect stuff. They want the you. So how do you help someone who's kind of stuck, that wants to get known into the world and really showcase their skills and who they are, and really share the gift to the world?
Yeah. I think first step is choosing a platform. Choosing one platform is the most important thing in your business. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be the most complicated one, or the one you think is the most trendiest or current. Just choose the one that you'll enjoy, because that's the one you'll actually show up on. And secondly,
True.
you want to actually practice. And when I say practice, it's repetitive action. It's habitual. It's discipline, which isn't always fun or easy, but practice showing up consistently. And in fact, consistency is far better than like perfection, or consistency is far better than curated content. Like, if you show up on your stories every day of the week versus you post like 2 or 1 thing on your feed a week, you're going to find that your message will get out there faster, clients will come faster, and your engagement will increase faster. Because when you think of social media, it's a connection app, it's a social app. So even if you're selling, even if you're, marketing your business, you've got to play by the rules. And the goal of social media is to have you on the app and to have your viewers on the app. So if you can create content and be consistent, then really people will naturally be watching your stuff because there's more stuff to watch. And in terms of the confidence building part, like I always think, and a lot of my clients, they get caught up in, what will people think of me? And especially for beginner coaches, people who maybe have not worked with clients yet or not many clients, they feel like they're not credible or their knowledge isn't really tested or true. But the thing is, I always say to my students, you're client zero. And if you can look at the net positive result of your own work in your own life, the transformation you've created for yourself in your own life, you're really going to be able to stand on that as enough evidence. Because if you hadn't gotten yourself together, if you hadn't implemented your mindset shift or whatever it is, whether it's your fitness or the business that you started to build, whatever you're helping people with, if you hadn't done it for yourself, then you wouldn't be here. And you've got to run with that. Like, you've got to be your own hype girl or hype guy in the beginning. Because that's all you have in the beginning. And then when you start to build that belief, when you start to work with people, even if it's just one, or even if it's like your cousin that you manage to help, that is enough as well. You want to eliminate every limiting belief that your brain will tell you, because your brain right now is probably in survival mode, looking for evidence. It's going to look for, in the past, people laughed at you, or in third grade that, someone told you to sit down when you had an idea. But you have to be so proactive about feeding your brain the narrative that, I am enough, my story is enough, and, really almost preempting the success and having that narrative play out so regularly in your mind that when you do show up, even if in the back of your head there's a tiny little thought that's saying, people will laugh at you, it almost becomes irrelevant, simply because you're just so in that belief. And if I can add as well, just more of recent times, it crossed my mind that opinions, what we think other people are thinking is really what we're thinking that they're thinking. It's got nothing to do with what they're thinking. And in coaching, being a coach, you would know this as well. It's really just unpacking why we think those thoughts. And if we think that other people are thinking them, it's probably because we think that about ourselves. And we almost somewhat believe it. So that's why it really does go deeper than, other people are going to think this. No, let's deal with, why do you think this about yourself? And then kind of work through confidence building around that.
Love it. So now that we've conquered the confidence, being raw and authentic, choosing a platform as the steps that you mentioned. Now, for someone has an online business and moving towards that, what would be the steps to create high converting content that customers or even clients can purchase high ticket packages?
With high converting content, I definitely find that you have to be willing to call people out. It's probably there's a lot of things that I teach around this, but that's probably one of the strongest points that I have. Because if you, for example, don't believe that you actually have the coaching ability, or you don't believe that if someone were to work with you for a few weeks or for a few months, their life could change, or they could actually get their results, then that's going to come through in your content. You're going to make fluffy content. You're going to make really vague content. You're not really ever going to call people out. And I had a client tell me the other day, I just like, they were trying to find the words. She was like, I don't know what words to write in this caption. And I was like, what's the single main point that you're trying to make? And then she said it. And then I was like, okay, say that. And she's like, but it's going to sound too harsh. I'm like, why are you afraid to sound too harsh? And she's like, what if they think it's too aggressive? And I was like, well, tell me, what was the most powerful content piece you've ever seen in your life that ultimately changed you or like really shook you? And she told me it was like a video, a 15-second clip of Tony Robbins saying something. And it was one of the most confronting things she had ever heard, because it was basically calling her out. And she was like, she stopped in the middle of her sentence and she was like, oh my goodness, that's why. Because if he hadn't been so upfront and almost aggressive in his conviction, in saying that you need to make a change right now, otherwise this, then she wouldn't have woken up. And so I think it's, while you don't have to be like calling people out, like pointing your finger and being like that all the time, it's really about the energy in which you put into content creation and the conviction about it, which really does stem down to the foundational building work. That's why I work with my clients on really building up their offer physically and their price points, getting it to the point where they really can not just put it out as an offer, but actually energetically get behind being able to sell it. And then when it comes to actually delivering that, qualities of high converting content is really, it's around pain. It's around, what would your life look like if you didn't make a change? What would it really be costing you if you didn't commit to, finally having a strategy, if the one thing you're missing is a strategy? Like really being able to paint that picture and be so confident in holding that.
That's powerful. I'm actually blown away with with all the insights you provided just now. Can you just share with us the difference between place value versus give value? I'm really curious about that. Can you share a bit?
Yeah, so placing value versus giving value is something that I teach around that myth that we need to be constantly be giving value to our audience. We get taught it a lot in content marketing that in order for your audience to buy from you, you've got to build know, like, and trust, and you need to keep putting out value. So then, people will have no choice but to want to give you value back and hire you as their coach or pay for your services. And so something I teach in addition to giving value, because yes, it's so important, but in the work that we do, especially as coaches, you have to practice placing value on people. And placing value is a concept that actually learned from John C. Maxwell. He's one of my favorite authors and leadership speakers. And he talks about how good leadership is basically, it's people first. And that's my philosophy, even in content marketing and selling. When you really work on creating content that not only gives value but places value on people, you're all of a sudden not just shining a light on you and your expertise, but you're making the person on the receiving end the champion as well. You're making them the hero of their own story, and you're allowing them to see a glimpse of what can be possible for them. And sometimes you also have to be the hero, which is partly why like a certain percentage of your content needs to be vulnerable. Maybe it's not your entire life story or your sub story, but to a certain degree, in relation to your offering, at least, be vulnerable about your journey and why you're credible, what you went through, because that makes you the person to kind of go, wow, she did it. And then you can leverage that and shine a light on how, yes, you've done it, but now someone else can too. So I find that placing value is a philosophy I practice. You see it all over my Instagram, but you also see it in my sales processes, in what I teach around consultation calls, sales mastery, really being able to hone in the art of serving a person and elevating them almost, because that's what we do as coaches. Like our job, I always say, as a coach, all you really ever do is like believe in people so much that they have no choice but to believe in themselves too. And then you give them a strategy and like hold their hand. Like, but the bulk of the work is really believing in people. And I think that has to start in your content. That has to start in, I guess, your content and then your sales. Because if any of it is sort of like kind of coming from a place of I need this client or I have to work with this client, but it's not really from a place of empowering them, then you've kind of, once you do start working with them, you kind of lose sight of why you're there. You don't really serve them at your best capacity. You don't really know their story or what drives them. It really has to be like this whole kind of ecosystem of believing in people.
Wow, I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. It's awesome. You know what, Nicole? Like, even when you give the differentiations about, placing value and giving out, it's so true. I mean, like, we need, as a coach, it's all about the power of self-belief. It's about them believing in themselves. But as a coach, is that we guide them through it. But it's all about adding value. It's about placing value, because when you do that, anything's possible, right? And you focus on them, and I love it. I like, John Maxwell says, like, "Hi, my name is John, and I'm your friend," right? So it's
Yeah.
it's all about just, it's all about them. And in terms of services, in terms of how we coach, it's all about adding value to them, placing value, and I love it. I love it, love, love. There's so many cool stuff in just one bundle of just this episode. So, guys, really gonna get connected with Nicole. She's fantastic. Now, I say this to every guest that's on the show, Nicole, is what is your meaning of motivation without the hype, and how to use motivation for your personal success?
Okay, I'll answer that in two parts. So the first part
Yeah,
was,
good.
what is my meaning of motivation without the hype? Yeah.
Got the hype? Yep.
Okay, awesome. I love this. And I love that tagline, by the way. I
Oh,
think
thanks.
100% with motivation without the hype. I like how your word is thrive, because that's really, it's this slow, almost a slow burn process. I love to think of motivation as something that, if you let it really come from a deep place, it
Ooh,
won't grow
yes.
overnight. Like a seed sort of thing. I think of
Come on.
business like a seed. If you have a
Mm.
seed, you plant it in the ground, you don't obsessively stand over it and wonder, will it come in the next hour? Will it have fruit in the next hour? Like, a farmer plants a seed, lets the weather do its job, lets the soil do its job, but then he does his job. And he knows that it's going to take some time, but he knows that the seed is there, even if there's no fruit yet or there's no plant yet. And I think motivation without the hype is really the ability to stay the path, the ability to, be faithful to your season, to understand that the weather is going to do its thing, that you've got to do your thing, and you've got to let the seed do its thing, and all of it has its own seasons. And that's really, yeah, for me, I guess, applied. What that looks like is just being faithful to whatever I have in front of me. There are definitely seasons where there's a lot, like abundance, and then there's seasons where it feels like, am I going to get to pay my bills this week? Or like, where's the money? Where's the clients? I thought this was working. But you find that in the big picture, it's about staying the path, because as long as you continue to put one foot in front of the other, as long as you show up, the laws of nature are the laws of nature. It's life, and that's how life is. Like, there's a season for everything, and sometimes that season you're in, even in the barrenness or even when there's low energy, like sometimes that season is just as intentional for the next season as well as for the previous season. And I think sometimes we discount, the lower seasons or the lesser successful looking ones because we think it's not working. But in the big picture, it is, because it's contributing to something bigger.
Woo! Love it. Virtual high fives. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Love it. It's slow burn. Yes. And what's the second part?
What was the second part of the question?
The second part is how to use motivation for your personal success.
Perfect. So motivation for my personal success comes from, again, that deep place. And for me, what that looks like is having a lot of time to think. My motivation actually, I don't want to say it used to be, but it's a combination now of high energy things, training and getting my body active. The gym is like my playground. I train in the gym in the middle of the day intentionally to like get my head out of work, and to move my body and to actually achieve like almost like new personal bests in life, but in a space that's completely outside of business. For me, that's a part of my, like, I guess the physical part of me getting motivated, but also a lot of thinking time at the start of the day, at the end of the day. And really it's become my new rule that anytime I want to kind of advance to the next level or scale my business or grow anything, if I'm going to add more of anything, it's not more tasks, it's more space to think. So I've really been trying to just create more space, and I'm learning that, like, even, you know, studying the lives of successful people and really, really influential people, they just have lots of thinking time. And it's just so odd, but I'm realizing now, the more I do it, that it makes sense, because in the free space is where creativity really flows, where uniqueness really is found, and where you come up with your most brilliant, quirky concepts that really radiate who you are. So that combination of having like a physical kind of space to achieve personal bests and push my body, I guess in turn trains my mind, which then when I train my mind and then I give it the space to like kind of do its work and to breathe, it will gift me back with creative ideas and creative new concepts.
Love it. You know what, Nicole, you are on fire, sister. I think everything from start to finish, you've really brought a lot of energy. And you know, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your gift. Thank you for sharing your insights and your wisdom. And I'm super grateful. And I want to acknowledge you. I want to say thank you. And guys, those who are listening and watching on the podcast, you really got to get in touch with Nicole. There's a lot of information and links provided on the show notes, so please do get in touch with her. She also has a podcast as well. So if I have a podcast, she has a podcast, and it's called the Trailblazer Podcast. It's super amazing. I've listened to her episodes in terms of business, her journey as well. It's not only going to empower you, but it's going to inspire you for greatness as well. So all the links are in the provided show notes, so please do follow, like, subscribe. Even her on Instagram as well. All the links are provided there. So if this episode has been very helpful and uplifting, we'd love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high value content in each and every episode. If you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media by inviting others, it would mean the world to me. Every time you tag me, we will get the opportunity to share those posts, and together, I say it again, together we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspirational episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must, and we'll see you on the next episode.